In this video, I'm going over your Unit 2 study guide. Make sure you guys complete this study guide before taking a look at the answer key in this video. I will be pausing throughout as well, suggesting you to try some problems if you have not tried them yet. So on our test, we have it's two parts. Part 1 is your project actually, and for that you have been working on it the last couple days. You'll turn it in on block day this week. Part 2 is the written part of the test, and it's going to look very similar to this, okay? You won't have as many questions, but you'll have questions that tie into the same type of skills from the study guide. There'll be a few multiple choice questions and I think around 10 short answer questions. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this. So question 1 is just solving equations with multi-steps. So I'm going to do the odds on this front page. Number 1, I'm going to combine like terms. 2m and 6m together make 8m. I can combine those because they're on the same side of the equal sign. Divide by 8, and we get -2. All right, I'm going to jump down to number 3. Question number 3 is another multi-step, but this time I have to distribute. Don't forget about the negative in front of that term. That negative goes with it. So I'm distributing a -8. -8 times 6 is -48. -8 times -4 is +32x. So as I was saying, I distributed the -8 to both terms. I got -48 plus 32x. I'm going to bring down what I have left. Equals -307, and out in front I have my 5x. On the same side of the equal sign, I've got two different x terms, 5x and 32x. So if I put those together, they're both positives. So that's going to give me a 37x. Still have my -48 equals -307. I'm going to add 48 to both sides. And I get 37x equals -259. Divide by 37. Try that again. -259 divided by 37 is -7. Okay, number 5, you're going to notice there's parentheses again, and then also there's variables on both sides. So we'll take a look and see what we should do in a problem like that. Go ahead and start by distributing whenever you see parentheses. -8 times -4 is 32. -8 times -1, +8. -4 times -8, 32. And -4 times -2, +8. So what we have here is we have the same equation on both sides. If I was to try to get my x terms together by subtracting 32x from both sides, what's going to happen is the x terms both eliminate, and we're left with this 8 equals 8. So then you ask yourself, is that a true or false statement? Since the variables are gone, it's one of our special cases. It's going to be infinitely many solutions, or it's going to be no solution. Since we have 8 equals 8, and that is true, this is the infinitely many solutions. Or another way that we say that, we might have said this in class, is all real numbers. It doesn't matter what the variable is, it's always going to make a true statement because the variables don't really matter. Like you can plug any number in, and it's always going to give you a true statement at the end because the x's eliminate. Now if I was to do that and I got something like this at the end, so what if I had 8 equals 0? Is that true? No, it's not. So that one would have been no solution. Okay? All right, if you have not done so already, pause the video, go ahead and do 2, 4, and 6, and resume when you're ready for the answer. All right, here are the answers for 2, 4, and 6. Let me know if you've got any questions on those. If you need some help, go ahead and ask me during class. Questions 7 through 10, solve each proportion. All right, so we learned that when we're solving proportions, we can actually use the cross products to help us eliminate the fractions. So we talked about in class how this works, but we can take one of the diagonals and just multiply those. So p times 3 is equal to 3p, and 2 times 8 is equal to 16. And the reason why that works is because technically we're multiplying by the greatest common denominator between those two numbers, and it eliminates the fractions. That's what we talked about in class. All right, so the fraction's gone. Now we can divide both sides by 3, and we get 16 divided by 3. That does not reduce, so you could leave it like that. Or if you have a calculator, you can get the decimal value. And I'll do that here in a minute. Number 9. Same thing. Cross products. So I've got 3 times n minus 7. Don't forget to write it this way. Since that's has two terms in it, you're going to have to distribute the 3 to both terms. So 3n, and then 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Okay, now let's go ahead and continue solving. I'm going to subtract 3n from both sides, and I get negative 21 is equal to 5n. And then I'll divide both sides by 5. So I get negative 21 fifths, and like I said, I'll put up the decimal answer here in a minute. You guys go ahead and try numbers 8 and 10 and resume the video when you're ready. All right, I did put the decimal answers on 7 and 9 in there for you, and then looking at 8 and 10, you can see my work. Pause the video if you need to follow those steps. But I got negative 1.625 and 6 for number 10. All right, the next one that we went over is the absolute value equation. So with absolute value, it's important to remember that a lot of times you have two answers because you have to set up two cases. So I'm just going to put a little star here and remind myself that I need to set up two cases when I solve these. All right. The other thing to remember is that the absolute value has to be isolated in order to solve it. So what that means is the absolute value cannot have any numbers on the outside of that equal sign. If you look at number 11, the absolute value is isolated. If you look at number 13, it's not. So we'll show you what you need to do when it is and when it's not. When it is, you can just set up your two cases right at the very beginning. The way that you set up your cases is you write the same problem without the absolute value sign, and then you go ahead and write whatever's inside the absolute value, write that again, but then you set it equal to the opposite of the original equation. Because remember, whenever you take the absolute value of a number, if it's positive, it's going to be positive. If it's negative, it's going to be positive. So we have to consider both cases, when what's inside is 10 and when what's inside is negative 10. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and solve both of those. If I add 3 to both sides, I get 13. If I add 3 to both sides, I get negative 7. So there's my two answers for number 11. If you plug those in, you're going to get the right answer both times. Okay, question 13. This one's not isolated first. So I need to move this negative 7 before I can set up my cases. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I get n minus 5, and the absolute value is equal to 9. And now I can set up both cases since the absolute value is isolated. The first case, you rewrite it. Don't really change anything besides the fact that you forget the absolute value signs. The second case, don't change the left-hand side, change the right-hand side, make this a negative 9. Okay, solve both cases, add 5, 14, add 5 on the next one, negative 4. All right, if you have not done so already, go ahead and try 12 and 14. Resume the video when you're ready for the answer. All right, for number 12, I got -6 and 6. And then number 14, I got 8 and -8. I'm going to jump down to the next section. The next section says solve each equation for the indicated variable. These are the literal equations where you're trying to get one of the letters by itself. Looking at number 15, I want to get x by itself. So remember, everything else you can perform inverse operations to those other variables. The only thing is, at the very end, your answer is going to look different than what we typically see. You're not going to have x equals one number. You're going to have x equals some expression. Okay? So number 15, I want to get rid of the k. K is being multiplied by x. So the inverse operation would be to divide by it. So I'm dividing both sides by k. And the way that I write the left-hand side is I just keep it as u divided by k. So that's what x is equal to, u divided by k. All right, number 17. So we got xk is equal to w plus v. I want x by itself. K is being multiplied to x. So I'm going to divide both sides by k. And I get w plus v divided by k is equal to x. All right, let's take a look at the next two. Number 16, I'm going to go ahead and do that one with you because this one we have not seen before and this will not be on the test. Okay? So it will not be on test. So don't freak out about this problem. But I'll go ahead and solve it for you. Whenever you have your variable in the denominator, what we typically do is multiply by that. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this side by a, but then I also have to multiply the other side by a. That'll get rid of the a in the bottom. It's going to move it to the top, or it's going to eliminate on the left, but it's going to now move it to the top on the other side. So this is a times v plus w. So that's one way to write it. And then I want to get rid of the v plus w, so I'm going to divide by v plus w since it's being multiplied by a. So once again, this one won't be on the test, but the answer is k over v plus w. All right, try number 18 and then resume when you're ready for the answer. Number 18, we want to solve for x, so we need to divide both sides by m. Dividing by m is going to get rid of it on the left. But whenever you're dividing another fraction like this by a number, I like to write it as I'm multiplying by the reciprocal, because that's what division is. You're just multiplying by 1 over that, right? So that shows me that the m is just down in the bottom with the p. You will not have one like this one on the test either. But that's how it works. All right, the last two questions are just conversions or percents off, it looks like, actually. So let's see if we can figure these ones out. Number 19, we got a TV that costs $1,500. It's on sale for 20% off. So what's the sales price? So we're going to take $1,500. We're going to multiply it by 25%, so 0.25. And that's equal to $375. So that's the percent off, but it wants to know what is the actual price of the TV, right? So I'm going to have to subtract that off the original. And then you can kind of think about it. Like if it's only 25% off, it's not going to be just $375, right? This is how much we're taking off. So I'm going to take $1,500 and subtract that number. Okay, so $1,500 subtract 375 is 1125. All right, you guys go ahead and try the next one, and then I'll resume in a second. I went ahead and figured out how much money I'm going to spend on the shirts. So I did 5 times 15, got $75. Subtracted that from the total. and I found that the jeans, I can buy 3 pairs of jeans.